How did we first get together? I was trying to think of when our first meeting was.
It had to be maybe in 82 or 83, sometime around then.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it was Merrill Kenny or if Joyce Bogart. Yeah, Joyce Bogart.
That's right, Joyce, yeah.
Who worked with Neil Bogart, who was my label, Boardwalk Records, which was the label that I Love Rock and Roll was on. Right. Unfortunately, Neil passed away literally days before I Love Rock and Roll hit #1.
That's right. That's right. I remember that.
But he was a guy that really believed in me, and Joyce did, and she bought me the jacket that's on the I Love Rock and Roll cover, that pink jacket.
Right.
So I felt I should wear it.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure somehow I came to you through her. Said you should meet up with Norma.
Right.
Maybe she can help you with some, get you out of the gutter, girl. That kind of vibe.
No,
people wanted me to be myself, but to dress maybe not in such a do-it-yourself kind of way. I was up for it. So.
Well, but if you think about it now, the stereotypical fashion magazine version of a rock and roll chick is you. I mean, it always goes back to you. No, and I've been doing this since the 60s. I've dressed a lot of people. I know all the people they're talking about. It's you, ultimately, that everybody is mimicking, and you know it. I'm sure you see it yourself.
It's one of those hard things you can't go, well, yeah.
Well, but it's a great compliment.
By, say, makeup artists or people that work on various artistic projects that, they'll tell me they told me to get, I want the Joan Jett look. Yeah. Whether it was makeup, whether it was the clothes and just the hair or just the vibe. It was different each time, but I know that it's been used as sort of a thing, and that's like, I can't even, it's hard to fathom that,
Well,
it's hard for me to fathom that I would be used like that.
It's so much what you kind of put together and accumulated that would be your identity. And I remember the first time I met you, you're this tiny little person, but you appear to be mammoth, like this big, force. And here's this little tiny thing. And I thought, where are these girls' hips? She has no hips. She's so little, so small, which is also part of what that feeling and that look was. But I remember thinking, first off, that you reminded me of Elvis, kind of, like a female Elvis. But you at that time, right, you had that look, and it was very cool because then you personalized it so much that you made it cooler. And that it was on a woman was even cooler than that. So when you see little girls dress up, they just put on everything in their closet that they love at once. I mean, that's it. And that's personal style. I mean, then it's the purest. They didn't see a fashion magazine. Nobody told them. They just put on every color pink that they love or whatever it is with the tutu on the top. And they look great, and they look genuine, and it looks like they're happy. It's when we start having magazines and influences to tell us we're not good enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not thin enough, we don't quite, but being authentic.
Well, everybody's worried about what everyone else sees, right. What the camera sees, what the other people at the party are going to see, as opposed to what do you see?
Right.
You're the one that's got to carry it, so you have to feel good in yourself, and I know that a lot of it goes back to, people have body image issues and all that stuff that, God, you really get into it.
I think that so many women are so afraid to look different or to have an individual style. They're so insecure about it. They'll do everything to look like everyone else.
I agree.
What influence did your mother have on you? I mean, my mother was like, we were in a constant kind of grind, my mother and I, but she had an influence on me inadvertently. I mean, but we kind of had nothing in common, that we could not have two more opposite people in a room.
Wow. Well, for me, I think it was opposite. My mother and I were extremely close.
Oh, really?
You know, our whole lives. She passed away a couple of years ago, but I definitely credit her. She didn't talk to me really about clothes. We didn't get into style or makeup really. I mean, I'm sure I started wearing some makeup young, you know, maybe like 12 or 13 because of drama school, and you know, I could get away with wearing a little bit here and there. But she also, when my band, the Runaways, started, I had to go to Hollywood a lot. I was 15, 16. She would drive me there.
Really?
And take me to Rodney Bingenheimer's English Disco.
Really?
And all that stuff. And so, to a degree, she had great trust in me, and wanted me to be able to live this, or try to live this dream of forming an all-girl rock band and doing something different like that.
Yeah.
And so that was her big influence, is that if she hadn't have done that, I might have not been able to do any of the things that I did.
Absolutely. And even the you know, now it's out of context, but you say all-girl rock band, that was so radical.
It was extremely
radical. I remember in the 60s, I don't know if you've ever heard of this group, but it was Goldie and the Gingerbreads.
Yes.
Do you remember that? Well, I remember seeing Goldie and the Gingerbreads at this club off of, like, in the New York Times building called the Headliners. And I thought, oh my God, this is like so crazy. And then there was nothing. Think about it. Think about all girl. And then like, how do you have the nerve? You know what I mean? Like, how do you have the guts to even conceptualize it?
A teenager, you'd think you can do everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I thought, well, girls can play instruments. Girls must want to play rock and roll like me. Wouldn't people freak out to see girls playing sweaty rock and roll?
Right.
Like, I was fans of, Led Zeppelin, or say the cover of the Rolling Stones album with Sticky Fingers with the zipper.
Right.
That kind of dirt. Teenage girls feel those feelings too. Teenage girls are sexual. Everybody likes to go, no, let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it. Well, if you don't talk about it, that's dangerous. You've got to let girls know what's up. And boys know more what's up than girls do, because I think people are afraid to discuss these delicate issues with girls. So, they're going to find out their own way. Yeah. And they will. So I think what the Runaways were doing, or at least what I wanted to do, was give voice to those teenagers, that we do have these feelings. We do want to do these things too, whatever it may be, whether it was partying or having sex or falling in love or writing about school. I mean, it was all the same thing. And we took so much crap for it. I mean, just for existing. We weren't even dressing weird necessarily. It was just, you could show up in jeans and T-shirts and people would
which was different. Which was different in itself. I mean, that's not how girls dressed. I mean, there was a different way. There was a different look.
Being told that you can't, you can't play rock and roll. So what do you mean you can't play rock and roll? I'm in school with girls playing Beethoven and Bach on the violin and the cello. What do you mean you can't play rock and roll? You don't mean we can't master it. What you're saying is, socially, women aren't allowed to play rock and roll. That's what you're saying. We're not allowed to be sexual, because rock and roll implies sexuality and owning it. So if you're a rock and roller, you're dictating it, where to me, pop music feels more like a fantasy. It could be whatever, you do what you want to me or whatever. I think rock and roll is more
Now,
more
talk about
than
objectification. So you were objectified.
But I was aware of it.
Yeah, and empowered at the same time. It's like
absolutely.
you can objectify me. However,
I'm objectifying you too.
No, well, you're empowered, which means there's then you can't get to me.
Right.
Which is my ultimate goal with this, is like how you show that, these examples of how we can do that. One of the things that I think can really change these preconceived notions, and they're preconceived and they're kind of perpetuated because I think a lot of people don't want to let go of them. It's a comfortable place. We keep everything the same. Nothing will change. Well, I think women have a lot to contribute. Look what you've done. I mean, the impact you've had on the music industry is enormous. The amount, forget fashion and everything else, but the impact is huge. So your impact can positively reinforce in women that they can do things that weren't expected. And even what you're doing today, you're an icon today to show longevity and everything else. But my thought is, here are all of these fathers who have young girls. They're not going to want to have anybody objectifying their little girls. So I think by telling our stories, they're going to hear them. We want to make sure every father with a daughter hears it, and every guy who has a mother, a sister, anyone that he cares about hears personal stories of objectification and has compassion and understanding and starts to change the dialogue. And maybe we can change that around the world.
And I think maybe there are a couple kinds of objectification. Yeah. There are kinds of I mean, that's part of life. It's part of feeling vital, is to be able to find someone else sexy. But there's a way to do that, to be respectful, to not even let them know it, that you're looking at them and find them attractive. And then there's people that are very crass and objectify women in a very crass way, and that's done on purpose. Yeah. And I think, but I think to find humanity sexy is part of why we are who we are. It's why we have sex organs. I mean, so I think a healthy objectification is exactly that. It's healthy.
So what was your life then like? I mean, here it is, the 70s. You're in context in this world, right? What are you thinking about in the 70s as a woman? And
pre Runaways, or I mean, I was like a little kid then,
So, but So what was your life like?
I don't really think I thought about being a woman so much. I was totally about the band, and my own image. And I think, and here's where we can talk about how you break things down about the objectification and knowing that. I think my whole look is somewhat of a mask, somewhat of a protection to say, be careful, because I will bite. And it's like, but I'm not mean, and I'm down to earth, and I like to talk to people and stuff, but just don't go there, because then I will fight back. Like, don't ask me, when you play guitar, does your skin feel like a man's skin or a woman's skin?
Oh my God!
I'm like, what? No, and like, this is like 10 years ago.
Oh my God!
I couldn't do the interview.
What did you like?
I yelled at I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "What does that mean? I'm not a man, so I don't know what a man's skin feels like." But like that kind of stuff will always happen. And plus, I'm sure there's occasionally they'll have people that just want to get you. They'll go in there, they don't like you, that whatever, they've got ulterior motives.
Or they have their own agenda to become famous for getting you to say something.
Right. So, I mean, you just have to, really be true to yourself. And I mean, it really goes back all the way to that bedroom when you're getting dressed and feeling good about what you're going to put on, and you don't have to copy what people are doing in magazines, and in fact, that's kind of boring. Yeah. Do something else. Be outside of the box. If people say something to you, look at that as a sign I'm doing something right as opposed to something wrong. So,
you're talking about everybody has stories, and so in your music, you're in the words, in the stories you tell. What do you think the thread is in your, there's a thread in my work that people can identify me through what I do. What's the thread? What's the message in all of your music, or in a good part of it, what's the story you tell about Joan Jett or your view of life?
I would hope that it's to be yourself, or that I'm being myself. And, that's kind of a lame answer on one level because it seems so obvious and almost, but it's one of the harder things to do, especially in show biz, because you arrive as a unmolded thing, and everybody starts to try to mold. Talk this way, do that, do-da-da-da. And some things organically might work with you and others don't, but some people will fall into just being pushed along. And it's not that they're weak or anything, it's just that you're in an unknown kind of situation. You don't really quite know what to do, and you need a while to get your footing to be able to either say, no, I'm not going to do that, that's not right for me, or, okay, I'll go along. And I think that's where people get lost, is they have to really check themselves. And that's in everything, whether you're in showbiz, whether you're, a girl trying to be a nuclear physicist, or some other, any role that you're in. Yeah. I mean, I think it really applies across the board, because those glass ceilings are really everywhere, not just, in our worlds.
Yeah. So if your music is really to say, be yourself, be who you are, I think that's the perfect ending to this interview, because that's really what it's about, image.